Telling me Hermione, the genius of the entire book series, relies solely on a game of riddles so simple a 14-year-old could solve it? Again, lots of readers will probably complain about this scene, but I'd forgive it based on the fact that it probably plays pretty well on the stage. Also because McGonagall lampshades it later in the story.
In a bookcase? You kept it in a bookcase? It's almost laughable.
So the kids get the time turner and the plan to save Cedric is in full motion. Stage cuts to black, Act 1 ends, and the intermission starts. Let's stop right here for a progress report. Yes, the story is headed towards some problems, but by and by this is the best act out of the entire book. We've introduced the characters, thrown some twists in, and we're starting on an adventure. Act 1 is the strongest act of the entire story. If you don't like it, leave the theater now, because it ain't getting any better than that. One bathroom break later and the audience piles in for Act 2. Stage lights come up, and we're back in Privet Drive, covered under the stairs. Little orphan Harry's getting the business end from Aunt Petunia, and just as the dream starts getting dark, our main man Al shows up out of nowhere, wearing Durmstrang robes, and Voldemort's voice returns. Harry wakes up, again, soaked in sweat, again. Ginny, again, continues her role as a concerned wife, and Harry realizes his dream is telling him where his son is at. Stop right here for a second. Let me throw in 2 pennies. The whole dream sequence thing comes off as way too convenient. Would have been a lot cooler if Harry played detective for once and figured out his son's plan after some Potter-style sleuthing instead of getting everything handed to him on a silver platter thanks to magic dreams or something. So the old guard meets up in McGonagall's office to get her help. Scene 4, Al, Scorpy, and Delphi are in the Forbidden Forest training for the mission. They're gonna go back in time to the Triwizard Tournament, disarm Cedric on Task 1, then travel back to the present and, I guess, save the day or something? I don't know. Delphi's clearly trying to play on both underage boys' hormones, and she gives Al a kiss on the cheek, but gives Scorpius nada. Would have been cool to see this theme played out a bit more, with the 2 friends fighting with each other over a girl who's way too old for either of them. But like most things in this book, it's dropped before there's a chance to really develop it. So pretty soon Harry's in the forest hunting around for Al, and we get a quick cameo by Bane the Centaur. Bane is useless. This scene serves no purpose to the story beyond getting a cameo from the original books. Bane doesn't do diddly to help find Al, and only offers up to Harry,
"There is a black cloud around your son. A dangerous black cloud."
well, duh. Scene 6, Edge of the Forbidden Forest. Al, Scorpius, and Delphi pull out ye old time turner and start with the twisty twist right as Ron Weasley shows up. The stage starts to transform, and suddenly we're making like the DeLorean and heading back in time. Triwizard Tournament circa 1994. Wait, you know what? This is taking forever. I'm not doing this play-by-play anymore. But for serious, here's a quick little note about this particular scene. When Albus is standing in the crowd during the Triwizard Tournament and he sees his dad for the first time, it doesn't have nearly the effect it should, at least not on the page. You gotta remember, Harry is the exact same age as Albus in this scene. Albus has this warped view of what Hogwarts life was like for his dad. He assumes his father is at the height of popularity and loved by all. Albus hates this because Albus is not popular, and he's constantly bullied by the people around him. On the page, when Harry's name is finally announced, there's cheering from the audience, although the script tells us
It is noticeable that the cheering for Harry is slightly less than that for Cedric.
if I'm in charge of script rewrites, here's how I'm changing that sentence. Albus needs to see that his dad didn't have an easy time of it. His assumption of Harry's popularity needs to be challenged at some point, and, you know, this is the time to do it. Harry was not popular at Hogwarts in Book 4. The student body rumor mill was that he was a cheater, an attention hog who always needed to be in the spotlight, remember? Rumor was he put his own name into the Goblet of Fire somehow and wanted to be the center of attention for the 4th year in a row. Even his own Gryffindor buddies started hating on him. Even Ron was getting sick of him. So in this scene, if Albus hears cheers, he just thinks to himself, yeah, there's my dad. On the other hand, if Albus expects to hear cheers, but hears boos instead, it makes him for the first time start to view his father in a different light and question the facade he's built of Harry's younger years. Also, another side note, would have been pretty cool for Albus to actually see Harry battle that dragon, you know? You get the sense the entire book that Albus just assumes his dad was this amazing superhero who never took his share of licks. So if Albus sees his dad get his robe singed and his death-defying skills on the broomstick, our main character gets an unspoken, teachable moment. Maybe it wasn't so easy being daddy after all. But thanks to the plot, none of that happens, because in this world the time turner device only gives you 5 minutes or so in the past to mess around. Alright, back on point. I said I wasn't going scene by scene, and here's when that rule takes force. Why, you ask?
Because this is where everything starts going downhill.
They manage to disarm Cedric like the plan called for, and time gets snapped back to the present. Everything seems hunky-dory, except pretty soon we realize things are off. A couple hours later, and Albus finds out he's in Gryffindor. Hermione's suddenly now the Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher, and a total Snape face at that. And Rose, well, Rose doesn't even exist. This reality is messed up. That's right, folks. Harry Potter and the Cursed Child goes full-on butterfly effect. They've changed the past, but now the present's all wonky and it won't do. So they gotta go back again and undo the damage done by the first time they went back, and then that makes everything worse, so they gotta go back again to repair that. And for 88 pages, we're in a time travel story ripped right out of the 2007 Writer's Strike season of Heroes. Alternate timelines and parallel universes are totally not Harry Potter. Well, I sounded like a total fanboy when I said that, didn't I? Time travel was used very rarely in the original series because time travel does nothing but create narrative problems and stories. The only time our heroes travel back in time is Book 3, and we end up learning that in this universe, the timeline is self-fulfilling and all exists in a single loop. This was tried once in the series to iffy results and then never touched again. In fact, in Book 5, Rowling deals with the time turner problem by destroying them all in an awesome fashion. This is where they should have stayed dead. This totally convoluted storyline lasts the entirety of Act 2 and half of Act 3, so there's no way to filter it out of the story. You can't filter it out because it's the basis for the entire plot of the play. It's confusing, unnecessary, and obviously only exists so the audience has an excuse to go back and revisit some of the cool moments out of the original books. It's stuff full of pointless cameos that ring hollow every step of the way because we're not revisiting the characters we love. We're looking at some alternate universe fan fiction version of the characters we love. It stinks. Dumbledore, Snape, Umbridge, Cedric, Moaning Myrtle, for crying out loud. Characters who are all past their expiration date. Characters whose presence in this setting would be better felt than seen. They all pop up in bizarro form. None of them are their authentic selves, and it feels empty. Cameos work if the cameos serve an actual purpose. If it's just an excuse to play around with a character that's no longer relevant to the universe, it won't work. There's a reason characters usually only come back from the dead in comic books and cheap daytime soap operas, you feel me? So by page 200, they finally managed to right the ship and get things back to normal. Al's slightly less mopey, Scorpius is slightly less cowardly, and Delphi, well, she's come up missing. The boys plan to take the time turner out to the back 40 and blow it up with the wizard equivalent of a shotgun blast, and it looks like everything's about to be wrapped up. Yeah, right. If you read this book and make it to Act 3, Scene 15, and you still don't know where the rest of this play is going or how it's gonna end, I don't know, I can't help you. Turns out, Delphi's the big baddie, Voldemort's secret daughter, and she's out to prevent the untimely demise of her no-nose daddy. By the end of Act 3, she's brought Albus and Scorpius with her back to the past, destroyed the time turner, and left them for dead. Act 4 is all about Albus and Scorpius trying to get a message somehow to Harry in the present to warn him about her evil plan. Albus finally manages to alert his daddy by using, wouldn't you know it, that moldy baby blanket that Harry gifted to him way back in Act 1. Harry and the gang gotta travel back in time to 1981, the night Harry's parents are murdered. But how are they gonna do that without a time turner? No worries, Draco Malfoy shows up out of nowhere and reveals he's got the most powerful time turner of all time, and he's just been, holding on to it for no reason in particular. So they use the time turner and travel back to 81 to save the boys and have a final showdown with Delphi. Wouldn't you know it, they win. Harry then decides to stick around and watch his parents be murdered, and he makes his son watch it by his side, because whatever. Then they all travel forward in time to where they belong, and everyone lives happily ever after. Yeah, that's the book. So where did it all go wrong? 5 scenes in. The second Harry gets that time turner and hands it over to Hermione, we're not reading a Harry Potter story anymore. Unless you want to call it like Harry Potter and the Multiverse Experiment or something. Scene 5 could have easily played differently and been written to totally change